abstract. Yeah, it's complicated what you say, the way you act. Well, it makes me so confused. I don't know what to do anymore. Can't you just make up your mind? My heart drops when you play around. How can you be up when I'm down? Don't wanna think about it right now. Maybe you just wanna be friends, but there is a fight when we are talking. Maybe you just wanna pretend, but I can read between the lines. Even if I can't deny that all the things you said are hurting, still wanna be with you. I think you want it too, 'cause baby I don't wanna be.
All right, I think I'm live now. All right. Hey everyone, I'm Pam from Stellar Crafts by Pam. And if you haven't had a chance to check out my project, I created some Christmas cards for you guys. Here's just a quick look at them if you can see them. And I created these using some layering stencils from Tailored Expressions. These are great things to use to create backgrounds for your cards. You can mass produce with them, make a bunch of cards at one time, and then keep going in. There's 4 layers to it, so you just need like 4 different colors. But yeah, I find them really easy to follow along, and yeah. Give me your questions. What do you got? Never done layering stencil? Yeah, I guess it all depends on the stencils that you have and where you get them from. Sometimes when you get them, they're not numbered. It's based on the company. What I would suggest is when you do get a stack of layering stencils, number them right away with some permanent marker, just so you can kind of keep them in line. And if they're not in order, then, you know, try to look at the pictures online and stuff and see if you can figure out order that works for you. What's nice about the Tailored Expressions ones, in the lower right-hand corner, they have numbers to tell you which stencil goes first, next, and so forth. They also have these little squares. I don't know if you can see that. But these little squares, so that when you put this on a sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper, you want to make sure you get the ink in that square, so that when you line up your next stencil with the squares, you can line them up with the inked square that you already made. So it makes it really easy for layering. Sometimes you might need to just adjust it a little bit by looking through the image and seeing what you already stenciled, but usually it's not much that you have to change. So yeah, if they're not numbered, like I said, I look to the website. Sometimes you can email customer service and ask them how it's supposed to be. Usually there's some tutorials online. YouTube is a great place to find tutorials of people like designers that are working as on a design team for a company, and they show you how to use the stencils. So a bundle for layering stencils, embossing folders, inks, and brushes. Well, I don't know as far as other companies. I know Tailored Expressions has some embossing folder stencil combos. They also have some stamp stencils, some stamp stencil and embossing folder combos. As far as like inks and stuff, I would just look for brands like maybe Taylor. I hate to keep saying Tailored Expressions, but Tailored Expressions. They have ink bundles. Catherine Pooler is where it's actually the inks that I use. So they come in little bundles to help you get started. And I think it is a little bit of a discount if you get them in the bundle. They also bundle their re-inkers too, which if you're doing ink blending with your dye inks, I would definitely recommend investing in re-inkers, but maybe only as you need them. I have the minis, so I have the minis, and I think I have a few of the full size. So the full size is like this, and then this is the mini. So with the minis, I have to re-ink quite often. So as far as like space, that's what works for me. So I just get the ink bundles, get the inks, get the reinkers in the bundle, and it seems to be a pretty good deal when you do it like that. Do you ever alter beyond what the stencil cuts would make? Not sure exactly what you're thinking. I mean, I do alter things a bit. I don't always use it as directed. One of the things I might do is add like where it's a one stencil. So you have these 4 panels. You're supposed to use one color, but what you can do is you can use 2 colors. So maybe a pink and then a darker pink to add a shadow to that stencil. So that way you're altering it a little bit, and you're just getting a little bit darker of a shadow there to give it some depth and dimension. What was the sparkle you put on the berries? Let me just check my supplies list real quick, because I did it a while ago, so I'm not sure what I did. Yeah, I'm not sure what I did do, but there are several things that I use to do glitter. I use glitter paste and put that through the stencil. What I might do is after I've inked the entire stencil, I would clean it off, place that same stencil back down, and then go over with my glitter paste. You could use those like Nuvo drops too. Just squirt it out as much as you need, and then use a spatula to wipe it down. And then on my card specifically, I'm not sure that I did use glitter. I didn't. So I used the PH Martin's white watercolor ink, and I watered it down a little bit, and I used that for splatter. So it may look like it's sparkling in the pictures, but it just has these nice little white splatters that kind of represent snow, which I thought was a pretty cool effect. My favorite cardstock is I like Tailored Expressions and I like Simon Says Stamp. They're both a good thickness of cardstock. They have a variety of colors. Right now, most of mine is Tailored Expressions. I also have a wide variety of Stampin' Up! Because I used to be a demonstrator like back in the day. And so I stocked up on all the colors. But anything 100, 110 pounds, I like to work with. As far as, say, when you're ink blending, I've been using Bristol Smooth paper. I've also used Nina. And Ranger has this, let me see what it's called. It's a heavy stock. It's 130 pounds that you could use as well. That works well for blending. But yeah, any of those would be fine. A spray. Oh, maybe you're right. Okay. You're reminding me now. Okay, at the very end, I did one last thing I think of sparkle. And this is a Cosmic Shimmer Airless Mister, which is pearlescent. So it comes in a bottle like this. I got this maybe from a kit, a card kit at one point, but you just shake it up and it just sprays. So what I like to do when I'm adding sparkle to my project, instead of spraying directly onto my project, I kind of spray up in the air and then whiff my card through that spray to add the sparkle. So that way it's not too much. And with having used dye inks, I'm not going to have to worry about the colors being reactivated with the liquid in the spray bottle. Solar paste. I don't know a lot about it, but it is kind of like, it's another type of medium similar to like glitter paste, except that I think they're solid colors. And Simon Hurley makes those. So those you can use to add colors. instead of just sparkle. I know he has a couple other ones too. There's solar, there's lunar, and there's a new one I haven't gotten my hands on yet, but I don't often use them, surprisingly. My go-to color, I would say like magenta or a violet or what else? Yeah, something like that. Like the pinkish purple type of color is my favorite. My go-to tool, the thing I think I use the most since I've gotten it is my Misty stamp positioner. So I have quite a few of these because during Christmas time, I like to mass produce my cards. And sometimes that requires multiple stamps on my card. So what I'll do is I'll set up one Misty with one set of stamps, set up another Misty with another set of stamps, and then it makes the process going from one to the other really easy. Plus, you're less likely to mess up on a Misty. With stamping blocks, you're kind of winging it when you're pushing down the ink onto the paper. But with a Misty, the stamp stays on the door so that you can position it again exactly where you stamped it before. Now, I have made mistakes where I have the paper in here and it's shifted slightly, or the magnets weren't on there right, or I didn't have my paper all the way down in that corner. And if I readjusted it, then it wasn't exact. But it takes some practice, I guess. But it's a really nice tool, and I definitely use that probably most of everything in my craft room. For making my cards, I like to use the Nina Solar White cardstock in the 110 pound. So what I do is I get their 8.5 by 11 sheets, and I use my score tool. I kind of just take a stack of paper and I go through each one and score it for top folding cards. I know I'm going to get this wrong, but there's a top folding card and then there's a side folding card. So one of them you're scoring at 5.5 and the other one you're scoring at 4.25. But what I do is I score them first, because then when I go back to finish them, I only have to make one cut, as opposed to if you made the cut first, you would then have to place the card, make the score line, place the card, make the score line. So you're kind of getting two done at the same time rather than one at a time if you were to cut first then score. But yeah, that's definitely my go-to paper, just because I like the thickness and it's not going to bend and stuff like that. As far as color cardstock, I use 100-pound cardstock. And like I said, I have mostly tailored expressions for my colored cardstock. And I just like the thickness of that. I like adding layers onto my cards, so I'm not worried about the thickness, especially if I'm doing like die cuts and then adding foam tape or things like that. I want that cardstock to be thick so that it doesn't like get divots into it when it might be like squished in the mailing process. So I feel like the thicker the better. I have not made stencils with my Cricut Explorer yet, but I know it's possible. And I have the whatever, I forget what they're called, but the sheets that you need that the stencils are made out of, I have them on my Amazon wish list. But I know that you can create your own stencils and then use them. Sometimes another thing I've done is I've used dies. So if I don't have a stencil for something I want to do, but I have a die, I'll die cut from the cardstock and then just use that cardstock as my stencil. Is the Misty the best stamping platform? The Misty, I think, was the first one that came out with the stamping platform like that. There are a few others. I don't use them. I feel like, I started with the Misty. It works. I have no issues with it, so I'm not going to change it. I think I don't know if it's Honeybee or someone has sticky mats that I want to add to my misting. I don't know if they have their own tool as well. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank there because I'm not really sure. My preferred blending brushes. So recently it's changed. For my dye inks, I like to use brushes like these, which you can get from Tailored Expressions, you can get them from Gina K, Simon Says Stamp, you can even get them on Amazon and they're fine. But I prefer to use those when I'm doing my dye inks, and you get a good control if you hold the head on it. But if I am doing, I have them right here because I was working on something. If I do my distressed oxides, which I've been doing a little bit more of lately, I am using the Ranger blending tools and a foam dauber thing that's matched for each and every ink, and I use the rounded one. I feel like it doesn't give as harsh edges when you press down the ink onto your paper. So that's been my favorite recently, for at least for distress oxide inks. How often do I craft? So I used to craft a lot. Within the past year, I've been raising my first and only daughter, so I have less and less and less time to craft as I used to. I try to make it a point to craft a few hours on a night during the week and then take a day for myself on the weekend. But I definitely could say I would love to be crafting more, like at least every night, but I've got other priorities, unfortunately. But once my daughter becomes more independent, I'm sure I'll get more craft time. Yeah, I thought about getting these blender brushes for my oxides, but because I wanted to designate one foam thing to each and every oxide color so that the colors don't mix, I decided to go with the foam instead of the blending brushes. The blending brushes, I actually, you can't really see it, but I have 12 cups in this little basket. And for example, all of my orange blending brushes, so I've got different kinds. I've got like a detailed one, small one, large one, even some tiny ones that I found from Simon Says Stamp. I keep all my orange together and use it with all my orange inks, and that's fine with the dye inks. I don't mind that. And I just make sure to blend the brush off onto some paper towels first to get most of the ink off before I switch colors. Do you use cosmetic sponge wedges? I have not used cosmetic sponge wedges. Favorite technique? In general, I guess my favorite techniques, I love doing the layering stencils, hence why I did this project. I also love making critter cards and stamping and coloring them with Copic markers and creating little scenes with the cards. And I love making interactive cards like shaker cards, scratch off cards, slider cards, anything that has some type of movement or surprise for the person that's going to receive the card. I think is pretty fun to do. All right, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to check out my blog. It used to be sellercraftsbypam.com. Check out my Facebook page and my Instagram, and there's a new link to my blog that you can check out. Thanks for watching. Bye.